Amanda, thank you so much for joining me. It's so lovely to see you. I would love for you to share what motivation was doing for feedback and performance before you started using How Am I Going?
Okay, so we had a much more formal email linked process, and actually we probably didn't, because it was so time consuming, we would probably be doing it mainly the 360 process once a year, and that would be at the end of the year. And we didn't do any feedback seeking midway as we did this year, but because of How Am I Go, we used the platform because it was so much easier. So I think that in the olden days, it was so much more resource intensive. It took a lot of my time and my PA's time just to follow up asking and getting feedback on deadline. So, yeah, I mean, it meant that we thought, well, we'll do it again. Actually repeating it mid-year was a really good opportunity to check in. And we were able to run a much more thorough process at the end of last year. So all in all, it was all great. And this year, we got 100% of our appraisals done by deadline. So I was very pleased with that as an organisational KPI.
Definitely, that must have felt really good.
I think so. We reviewed all of the feedback just shortly before, well, as part of our appraisal process at the end of last year. So it was a really good opportunity to gather feedback from a range of different stakeholders, and a lot of them anonymous, in order to fuel the appraisals, but also support with objective setting for 2021, because we have a calendar year. So actually, and it was really useful. I think it's the nuance of the answers that are given anonymously that really gave a really thorough view of how different teams might be feeling in terms of feedback. So as a senior lead, it's just really good to be able to see how my senior team are being perceived across the organisation. What we tended to do amongst ourselves was initialise feedback so that we could be very open and honest about our feedback. For the wider team, though, we kept that anonymous, and I think for the most part that was really good and just allowed that level of extra detail to come through that I don't think we would have known before. But particularly where we're working remotely, being able to get accurate feedback and determine how people are feeling about their position and their managers has been really important to be able to respond to. So I think probably all the more important in a year where we're further apart physically, but we need to be closer remotely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that your team are benefiting from the anonymity and the psychological safety that goes with that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So one final question is just to find out what your favourite part of How Am I Going is, whether that's the platform or the service. What do you like best about it?
I think probably, I mean, it's really easy platform to use, and it's a really friendly platform to use, which for us, I think people tend to be slightly intimidated or at least be slightly anxious about appraisals and getting feedback. And I think this takes some of that, the nervousness and the sting out, making it more comfortable.